Kia ora, good afternoon and as-salam alaikum. Welcome to this Newshub special as we bring you coverage of the nationwide reflection on the Christchurch terror attack. Now, over the next hour, we'll bring you full coverage of events right across the country, including the Muslim call to prayer at 1:30 and the national 2 minutes of silence, which is beginning at 1:32. We're going to take you around New Zealand as the nation pauses to reflect on the tragic events of last Friday afternoon. Now, today's commemorations are centred, as you'd expect, in Christchurch. And shortly, we will go live to Mike McRoberts at Hagley Park, where, as you can see there in that live shot, thousands have gathered for the call to prayer at 1:30. Now, as I mentioned, the 2 minute silence will begin at 1:32. And our cameras and reporters at mosques and other significant locations across the country. I do want to note, though, that as a mark of respect, we will be listening to the service. It's going to run between about 1:30 and 2 o'clock, and we won't be providing commentary. Now, that is at the request of the Muslim community. We are also in Auckland, where a large crowd is assembling at the Ponsonby Mosque in the central city. Now, right across Auckland today, we've seen that women, as a show of solidarity, have donned a headscarf. This was a request to make Muslim women and the Muslim community a show of solidarity today. It's called Headscarves for Harmony, and we are seeing that right across Auckland and at mosques also. We are also at Memorial Park Cemetery in Christchurch, where the task of laying to rest the victims from last Friday continues. As we know, many individual burials have now taken place here. We've recently heard that 9 hearses have arrived at Memorial Park in just the last few moments. And we do understand that this afternoon there will be a mass burial where the remaining victims will be laid to rest. Of course, some have been repatriated, but this is where the majority of the victims of last Friday's tragic events will lie. For now, we're going to go back to Hagley Park in Christchurch, where people have gathered next to Dean's Ave, directly opposite the Al Noor Mosque. This is where 42 people lost their lives. Mike McRoberts is there. Mike, what's the feeling like where you are?
Well, kia ora and salam alaikum, Sam. There are thousands of worshippers and well-wishers still pouring into Hagley Park, and it really is a tribute to the 50 men and women we are here for today. What started off as a seed of hate has flourished and blossomed into the most incredible show of compassion and empathy and love for the Muslim community. I'm joined by Abbas Nazari, who was himself an Afghan refugee who came here with his family as a 6-year-old. What has this meant for you in the past week, Abbas?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. The last week, the terrible events that have happened here in Christchurch has been a huge scar on the history of New Zealand, but to see the outpouring of grief, of support, of unity and togetherness from all walks of life has been a true light in all this darkness.
You have been watching a Newshub special, the nationwide reflection for the victims of the Christchurch terror attack. Today we have seen and heard a Muslim call to prayer, for many New Zealanders, perhaps for the first time. 2 minutes of silence for the victims was observed by tens of thousands of people right across the country, marking 1 week since the attack on 2 Christchurch mosques. As we heard from Imam Fuda, we watched as hearse after hearse after hearse arrived at Memorial Park with the bodies of those who are yet to be buried. 26 more will be buried this afternoon in a mass burial at 4 o'clock. From Imam Fuda, we heard an overwhelming message of love. He thanked New Zealand, saying, "Thank you for your tears, for your haka, for your flowers, for your love and compassion." He also thanked the Prime Minister for her leadership, for honouring the Muslim community with a simple scarf. And we have seen a sea of headscarves today, thousands of women choosing to show solidarity with the Muslim community today, and in particular with Muslim women who fear their head coverings will make them future targets of terror. Today was a show of unity after last week's horror. And we can see the Prime Minister there at Hagley Park making her way out. She's leaving the ceremony like so many others. But as we say, tens of thousands have marked this anniversary 1 week since those horrific acts last Friday. Well, join Susie Nordquist at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Mike and I will be back at 6 o'clock with full coverage of today's events and, of course, the rest of the day's news. Until then, I'm Samantha Hayes. Thank you so much for joining us. Good afternoon.